2017 Jetta S refrigerant, just recharged. We have a brand new condenser, charged by weight. You've seen that in the other video, on the last video, and then in the first video we talked about the micron gauges. This is the third video. We're now run this for about 5 minutes after it's been properly recharged under these conditions, and you can see all these conditions lined out right in here, right on the gauge where it says ODDB, outdoor dry bulb. That's your outdoor dry bulb. SLT, suction line temperature, and that's where I have this line going to this temperature sensor right off the expansion valve out of the evaporator. I'm getting the temperature of the refrigerant that is inside the line, so the software using the math can calculate your superheat for you. And if we come over here to superheat, we have 6.4 degrees superheat. Now that's sitting here idle, put up, not always the proper method on all cars. There's a big difference between a fixed piston compressor and a variable displacement compressor. Big difference. And so we got 39 degrees coming out of the dash. If you could read that right there, 39.8 degrees. Deadline, solid, flat. And you see here, it's moving over a little bit, really slow. You have minute 2, minute 3, minute 4, minute 5. We're coming up on minute 6. You can see our LLT, liquid line temperature, 93 degrees. So this is 93 degrees, and look at the outdoor temperature and the difference. But here's, we'll explain that later, or I'll have you go to somebody. Oh, we had the compressor just cut off. So the compressor just cut off and it just cut back on. So we now have met its minimum temperature. And its minimum temperature, where did it go down to? Oh no, that was going back up. Let's see. 39.2. So at 39.2 degrees is the cutoff point that this vehicle was set up at these ambient conditions, where it cuts off the clutch on this vehicle, not all vehicles, on this vehicle, under these conditions. So you have your liquid line temperature 93 degrees, and this is how it uses the math to do the formula to calculate your subcooling. And if you look here, for guys in residential, go, that's awfully low, man. That's like really, really low. Your car is low on charge. No, that's how it is. On automotive, does not always follow the rules because it's so dynamic compared to a home residential or commercial system. Your home residential system does not have a variable speed on your fixed piston, not fixed piston, your fixed scroll nowadays, Copeland, that is set at 1 RPM and has 1 displacement, and it doesn't go driving down the highway at 65 miles an hour getting a ram air effect across your condenser, whether you want it or not. You have a variable speed on your compressor. You might have variable engine speed on your compressor. You might have a clutch or no clutch on your trailer. All these things make a difference. So that was our cutout speed. Now let's go back over to follow. Hold on a minute, got to take off the glove. Okay, get back to 1 glove. I'm a 2-glove guy. So that's what it looks like. Here's your wet bulb. You could go watch Ty Brimmerman. You could go Greg at HVAC Service LLC, or you could go to Brian Orb's HVAC School, and you can find out about wet bulb and the dew point and superheat and subcooling with much better explanation than I could do. They have graphs and images, and they even have little videos to really get the point across. Let's go over to temperatures. Here we go, back to our superheat and subcooling. Let's look at the graph. You see right there that dip? That was where the clutch kicked out, and then the clutch kicked back on, and our pressures, this is pressure, so we're at 118 psi there, we're at 26 psi there. If you wanted to look at your line temperatures, here's your line temperatures. That's the temperature of the refrigerant, the outside of the, so there's the suction line, and we come up here on the suction line, and you can see where the compressor shut off. The temperature rose on the low side, 36 degrees Fahrenheit. 36 degrees Fahrenheit is the temperature connected right there. Then on the liquid line, 94 degrees. And I was not able to get it anywhere except easily right here. Now, you have to be really careful. Hot exhaust manifold, especially on hot days, that radiant heat can come off and actually heat up the plastic on your suction in your liquid line. If you notice, I have my liquid line facing where the sensor is. I have it facing the expansion valve because I don't want this plastic facing this hot radiant heat. And this will get to like 140 degrees and it'll give you a false reading on both your readings. And that's why sometimes you try to place them, if you can, away from hot exhaust and away from convection. So that's radiant heat. Then you have convection heat. That's like the hot air blowing past one of these. So if I put this down right by the fan, but my radiator temperature is 205 degrees, I'm blowing 205 degrees over the sensor, heating up the plastic and the metal. Do you think I'm going to get a true reading? No. But I'll look up here and I'll get false readings and I'll believe it's true because I don't know any better. I know any better. Really nice English there. So I'm telling you that so you don't make the mistake. So what you do when you really want to take accurate readings, you get fluffy cotton or something like that. Be careful you don't start fires or get stuff cotton belts. See, I'm away from belts and everything. And you wrap your sensor in 1 or 2 layers of a insulating cotton and make sure no air could get down in this area right here. So you make sure that's covered up too. And then you put aluminum foil around it with the shiny reflective side out, especially when you're by radiant heat like exhaust manifolds, because the radiant heat is like a laser beam and it wants to go right through the material and heat it up. By putting the reflective side of aluminum outwards, when the infrared radiation comes off the exhaust manifold, it strikes the shiny aluminum and bounces off most of it. And this way you can get really accurate readings. Most guys go, oh, I bought this temperature thing and I hook it up there and it just works and it gives me real readings. No, not all the time. This is where the technician must understand the tools that he's purchasing, how they're using them, and what their limitations are. See how I have that set right there? I'm not going for accurate readings because I'm just doing a straight up condenser was replaced. There was nothing wrong with this for sure. I'm not diagnosing it. I just want rough estimates. But I did go through the trouble to make sure that the side that the sensor is not flipped, pointing towards this 200, 300, 400, sometimes 600 degree exhaust manifold. I want it pointing in the other direction. That's a bad location. But I couldn't get it nipped inside here because these are too close and I couldn't get it around there. What else can I explain to you? I think that's going to be it on this video for right now. And we got nice con. See all that water right there? It's all watery. That's not a leak. That's water droplets forming on the return hose right there. And of course, when you return it, you see I leave it on here, and the windows are all starting to fog up. See, oh, we're nice and cold. And what were we? We're at 38 degrees. 39 degrees. 39.2 degrees is when this compressor cuts out at. And always turn your car back. If your customer's coming in to pick up their car, leave it on for a few minutes, cool it down inside for them, get it all nice and foggy if you can, because they probably never had anyone recharge their air conditioning properly, so they don't get this all the time. If you're one of those guys who never got this, and if you do it right, and if you're in the right climate conditions, you will get this every time. And you can present your customer with a cold car. Good PR. Another one I used to do years ago was I'd get a coffee cup. Now I'm going to tell you how many years ago. I'd pour my liquid R12 into a coffee cup or a styrofoam cup, turn the bottle of R12 upside down, and put about an ounce of it in here. And I would take the customer's keys and dip it in the liquid R12. It's all boiling and frosty freezy. And then when the customer would come pick up their car too, if it wasn't running, I would hand them frozen keys and say, oh, your car is a little bit cold inside. And but that was before EPA, so I was young in those days, and I used R12. You'd spray R12 on your boots, and cool down your boots on a hot summer day. You get your Coca-Cola and you'd put R12 inside a can, have liquid, it would be boiling. You get your Coca-Cola can and you sit it in there and you flash freeze it and you just let the R12 go out in the air. The good old days. Yeah, we loved Mother Nature. That was a long, long time ago, and many of you weren't even born. All right, guys, see you later.